Check out Southside on YouTube. If you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. It's Southside on Dash Radio.
Okay, welcome to the Atlanta Influences Everything Southside A3C podcast. This is day 3. Today we have a serial music industry entrepreneur. Okay. It's the truth.
I like that.
A woman that I've known probably for now maybe about 16 years. I think probably, about that long. She started her own recording studio called 12 Music Studios. And now she is currently the GM of Grand Hustle, T.I.'s Grand Hustle. I'd like to welcome Ms. Dina Marto to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me. Oh, thank you. I'm so short.
Yeah, don't pull it too hard.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This
Okay.
All right, we good though. As long as you're speaking to the microphone. So you're joined today by
Bang
Joyner and Mr. Ian Ford of Atlanta Influences Everything.
Hello.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you guys. I mean, not meet you, but meet you.
Nice to know you.
Nice to know you for all these years. I've been knowing him for
Which is a random story, probably such different.
a
We'll
crazy
get into
story. Yeah, okay, we'll get into it later.
What? Okay, we definitely talk about that. All right, cool.
Okay.
So, so Dina, the purpose of this podcast today is we wanted to talk about how Atlanta influences different sectors. First, we had social media on Thursday. Friday, we have food with Pinky.
Okay.
And now we're here to talk about music, the music industry, and how Atlanta has influenced the music industry. So tell us first when you first got interested in music.
Ever since I was a little girl, I would say ever since I can remember memories of my childhood, I've always wanted to be a singer-songwriter. So I would sing to my little dolls with my hairbrush. And then, I grew up and I went to college and I finally started trying to get into the music business. So at first I started being a singer-songwriter per se. That's when I met you.
Yep.
At Hindu Studios a very long time ago. Yeah, we're taking it back.
Right.
And I was actually a pretty good writer. Now, what I did realize very quickly is that I wasn't the best writer or singer in the business. So I quickly switched over to the business side and kind of never went back to the creative side. Mm-hmm. What was the first thing I did? I took a job at Def Jam South when Scarface was president. Shaka was there and they had Chingy on tour and Luda and everybody. And I worked there for a little while. And then I started being Jason Jeter's assistant, which got me into the whole Grand Hustle camp. It's a nice, full circle story. I worked with them right before Tip dropped Trap Music. And when I left to go start my own PR firm, which is probably right about, I wrote you before that?
Oglethorpe.
Okay, no, I was in school. It was.
Yeah. You were still at Oglethorpe?
Yeah.
When you did all this?
I was 19 in college. I started a PR firm, an entertainment PR firm called 6 Degree Relations.
I remember that.
And I represented Ryan Cameron, Sleepy Brown, Rico Wade, DJ Drama, the list goes on. It was back then. I was Gucci Mane's first publicist, wrote his first bio. People don't know.
This is you and Narcissus.
Me and Narcissus.
Yeah,
and,
only Narcissus.
Right. Yeah. And then so I had that for a couple years. That's when I met L.A. Reid at an event. He then handpicked and hired me to work with him at Island Def Jam. I was on his A&R team. I was the executive assistant to the late great Shakir Stewart, and then I was in the A&R department and I was the A&R coordinator for Jeezy, Rick Ross, Nas, Janet Jackson, LL Cool J, the list goes on.
Can we get an age check in this time period again?
I was 21 when I got to Def Jam, probably one of the youngest people there. Jay-Z was president at the time. And yeah, I would say that, other than interns, I was probably one of the youngest employees there.
Young gunner.
Yeah. And then I stayed at Def Jam for 6 years on L.A. Reid's team. I left 7 years ago to start 12 Music and Studios. I built a recording studio in Midtown Atlanta, 4,000 square feet, 4 rooms, office spaces, and I housed everybody there from Polo the Don, Rock City, Atlantic Records, Empire, Epic Records, and the list goes on. And that's when I was developing talent, signing and developing talent, nurturing talent, kind of created a community, an ecosystem. It was different than most studios because it wasn't just going to record. It was about being a family there.
Yeah.
And then I also was, like I said, managing and developing talent, songwriters, producers, and artists. And recently, about 2 years ago, T.I. called me to be back on his team again, which of course, I worked with him back when he was young and wild, and I was just starting off in the game, and they were getting arrested way too much, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. And so, it's true, on Simpson Road, And then he brought me back on the team, initially as a consultant to help with his label, but then brought me further in as the GM of Grand Hustle, and I'm on his day-to-day management team. So that is what I'm doing now. I did recently, literally recently, several months ago, I sold my studio just because it's been 7 years, and I was managing that place for 7 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We had no days off. People were in there on Christmas. They were in there on Thanksgiving and New Year's. So it was a constant management of an entire facility and a group of people, a staff. So it was a lot of work. So I was ready to move on to the next thing that I need to do.
And we're here.
And here we are.
So
that was a long-winded version of my life.
No, it's good. People need to know that story, though. I mean, anytime you have a chance to tell a story like that, you should. When did you recognize, I guess, as far as Atlanta and the shift in music, where Atlanta was kind of becoming the preeminent place for music? Had it always been that way for you, or when did you see it really start to take over?
I really think it's been that way for sure for the last 20 years. I think that during the 90s is when it started getting its real footing in Atlanta, and the 2000s. And I was in on a good time, not like the crazy time where everybody, you were just tripping over talent in Atlanta and it was lots of money being made. But I think that now what I see happening is Atlanta's embracing, I think at first Atlanta, the city, didn't really embrace it as a music city and wanted to really identify with it being a hip hop culture, but it's always been that. And so now I feel like the city is finally saying, yeah, we are a music city and we do have hip hop and we are the mecca of that currently. And so I think they're embracing it more, and I've seen the change of the business getting better and stronger, and there's more footing here, and there's more just business taking place, not just creative, because it's always been a creative city.
So let me ask you this, let me think. With music being so prominent in Atlanta, because you travel a lot.
Yeah.
What are people's perceptions or opinions of Atlanta elsewhere, especially in music cities like New York or music cities like LA, where they've had a strong music culture for a long time? How do they love us? Do they hate us? What do they?
I think they finally now can't deny what we are. And so at first you would get so much pushback because New York was, that's the birthplace of hip hop and this and that, and the West Coast had its long run. But we've been in the game leading pop culture because hip hop is truly pop culture. We set the trend for everything as it pertains to style, as it pertains to lingo, the words that people use, as it pertains to just anything that's cool and hip and that's going on. And I think we've been in the lead of that. Dance. I mean, we've always been
absolutely,
at the forefront of dance, and Atlanta's just been the forefront of that. We just have this secret, the special sauce that no other city has. And I think that now LA and New York and other cities have to just really give it up to us, because it's not like we came and went. It wasn't a trend. It's like we've stayed in the lead.
I think we took it.
We definitely took it, and we took the ball and didn't give it back.
Right. I think we took it, and especially with dance. I'm going to talk about that real quick, because you can't make I think the new, Bame, tell me this, the new Before I Let Go is like Swag Surf.
I was part of that. I want to say that I was there.
You gotta do the Swag Surf now.
I was there when I was part of that deal when we signed them at Def Jam. That Swag Surf sign.
Man, I remember that.
Because that was such I still hear it. And I'm like, damn, that record is so huge.
It's the new Frankie Beverly and Maze. It's like you start the party with that.
They're touring off that. They tour.
Absolutely, they're still continuing to tour off that.
No, absolutely.
So New York and LA don't rock with us, or haven't rocked with us, but now they feel like they can.
The South got something to say, and we've had it.
Do you remember that moment?
I absolutely remember that moment. I remember I'm a lover of music, so I've been studying this forever. When I met certain people, I was like, oh my God, this is so-and-so. Like, you have to, if you really love this shit, you would do your history, you would do your research on what it is.
I remember when I saw that, and it really changed, I think, everybody's mentality or attitude about what this city is. But Atlanta's been very special in that. I think our culture is, like I say, our vibranium. It's really what makes us special, and you can't get it anywhere else.
It's authentic, and I think that people try to duplicate it, but it's so authentic with Atlanta. It's like from the struggle that happens in these poor neighborhoods and in the culture that's out here. That's where you get this sound and this like emergence of just talent and like fighting through the environment in which people are raised or in and their circumstances. And I think that's like the beauty of it. Especially like trap music, the way it's turned from, just the whole entire culture of trap music. And
I want to talk about that too real quick. The Trap Music Museum.
Yeah, such a big deal. We just celebrated 1 year anniversary. If you haven't been, you need to go by. It celebrates just all the different artists that have contributed to trap music and kind of gives you some history on it and the culture, and it's just amazing.
The numbers that museum is doing.
Like 5,000 a weekend of people that come through. And it was supposed to be a pop-up, and it stayed. It's staying. And
my office is around the corner from the Trap Music Museum, so I drive by on the weekends, and when you see the lines of people, and I'm like, yo, they're doing 5,000, 4,500, 6,000 people a weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if the High Museum's open 7 days a week, and I don't know if they're doing that.
I wish we could check those numbers.
So that's what I was going to ask you about, the data on those 5,000 people. Kind of like where they coming from? You know much about them?
A lot of out of town people, but I don't have the exact. I went how to get it from like the team, but I don't have the exact data. But like it stays packed and it's an event facility as well. You can have a party there. Different things happen. I know like BET just had some stuff there while they were in town. I mean, it's really nice to be celebrated amongst your own peers in that kind of situation. I mean, and they're really like, it's really a museum, so it's about the art. So you're really bringing in new talent as far as upcoming artists that are like painters and people that are doing art.
So I asked about the data in the sense of if all of this is true, what we're saying, and you did say that the city is starting to understand, but what understanding looks like is the way Nashville understands what its sauce is in country music, and it's from the moment you land in Nashville, there's you know exactly where you're at. And so the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, when they run ads on Delta and they tell people about the High Museum and the touristy things, like, do you think we're getting to a point where that other side of Atlanta in their marketing material and the images that they show of the region, are they showing this on Delta?
I think when I travel internationally, people know Atlanta music is played in the clubs over anything else. It's played in the events, and like the people love the artists that come out of Atlanta. I know internationally we're recognized as a music city. Now I would have to say, and people might be mad at me saying this, but I think Nashville's a little cookie cutter in the way that they like present their music city. Like as soon as you land, and everything is just guitars and stuff, and that's cool. But I think we just have a little bit more swag to it, you know what I mean, in the city. And you have to think like now politics is intertwined with music. Now you have rappers and these artists, they have to like they're representing for the city with you know this firsthand. I mean, you have to be endorsed by some of these celebrities that we have for people to really think that you're, the one we need to be behind. And it's starting to be really intertwined in that way, I would say. Not just looking at us as like, it's hip hop and it's...
As the talent. So we're no longer just the talent.
I think it's there's more influence, there's more power, recognizing our dollar a little bit differently and the power that we have to influence the masses. My opinion from a business standpoint, I feel like Atlanta is marginalized intentionally. And what I mean by that is when
Now, this might be a little different. This is a little controversial. I'm going to say this. It's going to be a controversial comment. So Tyler Perry just opened up his studio.
Amazing.
Right, like bigger than 3 Hollywood studios combined.
He doesn't get enough credit for being who he is for the city and for Black people. Like, seriously.
Now, let me ask you this question. When you started working for Island Def Jam, or no, before that, I'll go back when LA started doing Arista, right? Do you think that it might have been an error to sell LaFace and
Absolutely.
leave?
I mean, they got what did they make off of that? I can't remember. It's like 150.
Yeah, it was some amount of money. The only reason why I say that is because I think the error could have been if LaFace stayed in Atlanta, they still would have gotten Pink's second album at $16 million. Mm-hmm. They still would have gotten Outkast's album at $10 million. They still would have gotten Confessions at $20 million. They still would have had Sierra coming out at $4 million. So
I think they cashed out too quick. And if they stayed, LaFace was really the biggest label to date, I feel like, that was built in Atlanta and stayed here for whatever time that they stayed. I think all the other labels have been these smaller. So it's DTP and it's Grand Hustle and now it's QC and it's and they're the smaller independents. But that was your in, like that was it.
But the thing that I think that separated LaFace from all that was the allowance of infrastructure. I think once LA left, New York and LA didn't allow someone to come up and say, we're going to set up brick and mortar and here's $35 million and just do what you want to do. It's more like, we'll sign the artist, we'll give you a budget, we'll keep you on a string.
And keep coming back to my city, we'll do the deal over here and then you can make the music in Atlanta. Yeah. And that's kind of how it's been. What people didn't really realize about L.A. Reid and what he was so great about as well is that he's able to find talent like artist talent, but he also was able to recognize executive talent as well. And he put those people in a position. I remember when Shakir was actually the person that came down to hire me. People think that Shakir hired me, but actually it was L.A. Reid. And he sent him to hire me. And the first thing he said to me was like, L.A. Thinks you're great. He thinks that you're an executive superstar. Like you can be that. And so it was really him looking at me in the long haul of what he thought I could be as an executive. And that was really the beauty of L.A. Reid's talent. His gift is being able to kind of see things before the potential of it before it actually happened.
So speaking of Shakir, you hear all these great things about Shakir. I mean, I've heard it just through legend. I didn't know him, but can you talk about his influence on you? Like any great advice that he gave you or just... Yeah,
I mean, listen, Shakir was the guy that could, he could be in like the streets and be partying all night with all the everybody, and then turn around and go to the corporate boardroom and have a meeting there. And he just had so much style and Shakir was he was just that. Everybody loved him. He was just the guy that could make any deal happen. And the thing I really learned the most about him, being under his tutelage in L.A. Reid is really about understanding how to work at being the cream of the crop. I could not make mistakes. They wanted excellence at all times. No was never an answer. It was I had to figure it out by any means necessary. And that really built me. I think a lot of people don't really go through that, paying your dues and understanding the hard work of so much of the stuff that is not you don't know, but it was just hours of my life. I dedicated my whole life to him. So it was a lot, he influenced, he signed Sierra, he signed Jeezy, Rick Ross, he signed Beyonce to her first publishing deal at Hitco. I mean, Shakir was a legend in his own right, and it's tragic what happened. And so to me, I mean, he has so much more impact than just music. It was just life impact to me, because it's about just understanding that you always have to have your grounding in whatever you're doing. And this business is so much glitz and glamour that you can be taken in a whirlwind and just swept off your feet. And you just have to really understand what you're here for and just have that footing in what you're doing. And it's all about your team too. So
it seems like you were brought up under a lot of Black excellence. Yeah. How would you say that's different hypothetically from being brought up around white excellence?
You know what? That's interesting because I'm from the Middle East, so I'm Palestinian, Jordanian. I was born in Jordan, and I've always made my money with Black people, and I don't know really. I mean, I don't know why it just happened, and because people think it's very obviously. I'm a very rare for my background, just being in the music business, but being in hip hop as deep as I'm in hip hop. I think it's a rarity in people, and as a woman too, because I'm a woman in hip hop, and that's just like a whole nother layer to it. So I think it's I've had nothing but great mentors and role models, and I just feel like I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that question. It's been great to watch. I believe in it's a different story to be. To me, I would rather team up with the person that had to work from the ground, from the concrete to get it, than somebody that got inheritance and was able to have this big check and start making moves. To me, I want to be with the person that had to grind it all the way to the top. I'm a builder. I want to start from the ground level and build something.
Man, that's dope.
Talk about being a woman in the hip hop industry, because I know that's hard. I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes that go with that.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So, I always tell women, I've noticed in my own career, you have to work 3 times harder than a man. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get promoted as quickly. You're not going to make the equal amount of money. There's probably different. I think that from what I have done and the lives that I've been able to touch throughout the years, I should have been offered certain other positions other than just being an A&R at a label or different things like that. But I think just because I'm a woman and just, it's just a little more difficult. You just have to earn people's respect in a different kind of way. And I had to be very consistent and persistent about who I am, what I'm here to do. And, you have to also be able to not take things so you got to let things roll off off as a woman in this business, because men are going to try you. That's what's going to happen. And you're just going to be faced with different things that a man's not going to be faced with. And you got to be able to be built for it. And a lot of people, I think, just, it's just a different world. There's no rules in the music business, really.
No, there aren't. It's definitely a hustler.
It's a male-dominated industry, and you got to play with I have to play like the guys play. I have to be in the game.
I know. Well, tell me about real quick about this podcast that T.I. started expeditiously, because I see your head in there every now and then on an episode battling the only female voice in the room.
I had to stand up for the females. They were doing a whole top 50 list of the best rappers of all time. They had 3 women on, and I had to fight for the 3rd woman. They didn't want to have Lil' Kim on there. I'm like, they had Lauryn Hill. I'm like, you have to have Lil' Kim. She started this shit. And then I fought for Nicki Minaj to get on there too, because I feel like she's a legend in her own right. And I really wanted to have Queen Latifah and some other people on there, but they just weren't having it. 50 out of the top 50.
Yeah.
I mean, so no, I help him produce that show every week. It's #1 on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One. We're really excited about it. It's a new platform for him. Tip likes to talk. So we talk about just get real with issues. He brings up a lot of the issues for the Black community, just social justice, things that he's very passionate about. And, it's really great. It's a new world for us, and it's really been fun to develop it.
Can I touch on that new world a little bit? So the direction that Tip is going in, he's becoming more of a voice for the community, and just for people outside the community, people that are just aiming and fighting towards something.
Yeah.
And then I've seen you over the years. I remember I ran into you at City Hall a couple times, but Wells Fargo program, different things. And so I see you don't move insular like music industry. You and Tip are both moving cross-culturally. So with expeditiously, the topics that you talk about, the places where you show up, you came to the TEDx thing that we all did. What's the goal? What are you aiming toward? What are you looking toward?
And that's a good question, because when Tip called me, and it was and I have a lot of different rappers call me for different things, I just my relationships in the past and just artist talent. A lot of them are great business people. I did a lot of work with Rick Ross. But when Tip called me, it was a little bit different, because I see, to me, he's he's in that transition stage of being just, he's going into that like legacy mode where he's building that legacy and he's speaking up, and it's like kind of that Jay-Z kind of transition for him. And I love being able to have a hand in helping to like work with him on that level, because it's there, and we're just kind of working. It's every time he makes a decision, it's not about just him anymore. It's about like the greater good of the culture and for everybody. And I love being aligned with that, because it's really about, it's bigger than just like music at this point, you know? So so when he approached me, and at the time I was actually offered jobs from Sylvia at Epic, and then LA was starting Hitco again. So, you know, we were talking about working together, and I kind of just, I went with Tip because I felt like I could have more of a hand in really like helping to direct what was happening. And I'm really happy that I did that, because he's you know, he's a human, so he makes mistakes, and he's, you know his past, and he's grown up in front of us. So is his whole family. And it's like, he's really just, he's a hard worker. He's sharp. He really is passionate about just his people, and really just creating that economic power for Black people that you guys really have, that you need to own.
I totally agree. So what's next for you? What else you have coming up 2019, 2020? What are we doing?
Man, so, you know, I sold 12 studios because we are building another facility. It is in the West End of Atlanta.
Hey, West Side.
I can't talk about what it is yet, but just know it's going to be huge. And so we're working on that, and that me and Tip are partners in that. And I'm just going to be continuing to work with him. I have my artist, Ink, that you guys probably know. She's super dope. Singer, songwriter, guitar player. Me and Polo the Don and DK, we're about to start dropping music on her. So I'm still just doing what I'm doing. It's mostly in management. Still doing my speaking engagements. I love to talk to women. I love to talk about mental health awareness. Just making sure that people can see like a positive role model for a woman, that you don't have to like take off your clothes, and you don't have to degrade yourself. You can be and the other main point of this is you can be a boss and still be kind. You can be gracious. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to act like a man. You can be a woman, because a woman brings so much to the table, and that's needed.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: you've been the same Dina that I've known since day one.
Well, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? I've watched you grow up.
Thank you.
It's so nice to see you blossom. I want to thank you for coming by.
Yeah.
And gracing us with your presence. This is the final episode, but I think most importantly, we got to see that Atlanta, as a city and a culture, is something that must be defended and must be protected, and let people know about this great city. We're not full. I know we always say that Atlanta's not full. We have to understand that. And one thing that I like to say on most of these podcasts is also the things that we do in Atlanta are allowed to happen because of our political power. I think that's what separates Atlanta, what allowed the music industry to thrive, and TV and film and businesses, and even festivals like A3C and the other festivals. You have to get permits for those things. It has to be allowed to be happen. So this great music culture that we have is something that comes with responsibility and engagement from the community to still be there. And hearing Tip speak yesterday with Charlamagne the God, he broke it down very excellent. Like he said, he spoke about the fact that the reason why we must be politically engaged is when we were running for, when Keisha was running for office, he had to lay it out like this. Those strip clubs you love to go to, these nightclubs, the new mayor, they're going to stop liquor licenses. They're going to shut down Magic City. They're going to shut down all these strip clubs. So they're going to make studios have to close down with noise ordinance. So you can relate
right there. It's like what you go to. You're right. Going to these things. So do you want that to happen?
Yeah. Do you want that to be gone? And
right.
That's part of what the culture is. So I think that message needs to be relayed, and be mindful to everybody that this is exactly, how this city exists and what type of energy it has. So thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I know I'm going to see you around the festival, but this is...
So you were there at that panel yesterday. How you called me?
Oh yeah, and said you were single.
I'm not single. I just want to point that out.
Although he's like, Dina's single.
I'm so done with him. We joke around all day long, but no, but the beauty about Tip is that he's able to kind of talk to you on your level, and you can relate to what he's saying because he brings it all the way down to the basics of it.
Yeah.
So that's what's dope. And I love what you guys are doing. I sported my Atlanta influences, everything, hoodie everywhere I go.
Yep.
I have a really dope picture with 50 Cent in that hoodie. That's a big deal of an announcement that we have coming up with Tip soon. So I'm gonna post that picture with it. But no, I love it. I think it's true. We influence everything.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dina.
Yeah, Atlanta Influences Everything, Southside A3C podcast.
Check out Southside on YouTube. If you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. It's Southside on Dash Radio.